You check the time, you answer a message, you walk past strangers without thinking. Your world is loud, bright, and full of people. But death is usually hidden behind hospital doors, funeral homes, paperwork, and quiet rooms. For most of human history, death was not hidden. It happened beside the fire. It happened inside the shelter. It happened on the trail, in the snow, under a rock overhang, beside the body of someone who had laughed yesterday, carried food yesterday, protected a child yesterday. And when ancient humans looked down at the dead, they faced a question no animal had ever answered the way we did. What do we do now? Not just with the body, with the fear, with the memory, with the person who was here and suddenly wasn't. Long before cities, kings, temples, or written prayers, humans were already doing something strange with the dead. They did not always walk away. They did not always leave the body for animals. Sometimes they stopped. They gathered. They touched the body. They carried it. They placed it in the earth. They covered it with stones. They returned to the place later, and that simple act may be one of the clearest signs that something had changed inside the human mind. Because a body is heavy, a burial takes effort. In a world where every calorie mattered, every hour of daylight mattered, every mistake could mean hunger or danger, choosing to care for the dead was not practical in the simple sense. It was emotional, it was social, it was human. Picture a small group moving through a cold prehistoric landscape. There are no roads, no houses, no medicine cabinet, no police, no written names. The only safety is the group itself. Each person matters because each person holds knowledge. Where water hides in dry season, which roots can make you sick, how to track animals, how to calm a child when predators are close. Then one person dies, maybe from infection, maybe from a fall, maybe from a failed hunt, maybe from childbirth, maybe from winter hunger that slowly emptied the body until the group could do nothing but watch. For a long time, no one moves. The fire cracks. A child stares. Someone makes a soft sound, not quite a word, but heavy with meaning. And suddenly, the living have a problem larger than survival. The dead person is still part of the group, but also no longer part of it. This is where the first rituals may have begun. Not as grand ceremonies, not with temples or priests, but with small, repeated actions. A body placed in a certain position, hands folded or drawn close. Red ochre sprinkled across skin or bones. Tools left nearby. A grave dug in a familiar place. Stones arranged over the earth. To modernize, these details might look simple, but in prehistory they were enormous, because they suggest memory, they suggest grief. They suggest that the group was not only reacting to death, but trying to give it shape. And maybe that is what humans have always done when something is too terrifying to understand. We turn it into a pattern. One of the oldest possibilities is that ancient people covered the dead to protect them. From scavengers, from weather, from the sight and smell of decay. Death in the wild is not clean. It changes quickly. The face changes, the body swells, animals come. The person begins to disappear in a way that can frighten even the strongest minds. So burial may have started with a practical need. Move the body away, cover it, keep predators from the camp. But somewhere along the way, practical action became something deeper. The body was not thrown away like spoiled meat. It was placed. That difference matters. Placed means care. Placed means the living were thinking about the dead even after the dead could no longer help them. Some prehistoric burials show bodies curled on their side, almost like someone sleeping. That posture may have been accidental, or it may have carried meaning. A sleeping shape is less frightening than a corpse stretched stiff in the dirt. It turns death into something the living can bear to look at. Maybe they thought the dead were sleeping. Maybe they feared the dead might wake. Maybe they simply remembered the person alive and arranged the body in the most familiar shape they knew. And then there is red ochre. Across many ancient sites, red pigment appears near human remains. Red is the color of blood, wounds, heat, sunset, birth, and life itself. For people without written language, color could carry meaning before words could explain it. Sprinkling red pigment on the dead may have been a way of giving life back symbolically, or marking the body as special, or separating this moment from ordinary life. No one can read the exact thoughts of a person who lived tens of thousands of years ago, but the pattern is hard to ignore. The dead were not always treated as nothing. Sometimes they were treated as someone. That may sound obvious now, but it is not obvious in nature. Many animals recognize death in some form. Elephants touch bones. Chimpanzees show distress. Some mammals stay near dead infants. But humans went further. Humans created repeated acts around death. We built memory into behavior. A burial is not just about a body, it is a message to the living. This person mattered. Do not forget. Stay together. The group may have needed that message because death threatened more than one life. It threatened trust. If someone could vanish forever, then everything felt unstable. The forest, the hunt, the weather, the darkness, all of it became more frightening. Ritual helped make terror manageable. When ancient humans gathered around the dead, they may have been doing something that still happens today, turning chaos into order. There may have been silence. There may have been gestures. There may have been touch, a hand on the shoulder, a bowed head, a slow rocking movement beside the body. Before long prayers, before written names, the body itself was the center of the story. And children would have watched. That matters. A child seeing death for the first time would learn how the group responds. Do they run? Do they panic? Do they abandon the weak? Or do they gather, cover, protect, remember? In that moment, culture passes from one generation to the next. Not through a lesson, through behavior. One of the most powerful things about ancient death practices is that they show us humans were not just surviving animals. They were meaning-making animals. They could lose someone and still carry that person forward in memory. They could return to a place where someone was buried. They could recognize that a location was no longer just dirt or stone. It was where someone remained. This may have changed the way humans understood landscape itself. A cave was not just shelter. A hill was not just a hill. A riverbank was not just water and mud. It could become connected to memory. The dead made places sacred before temples existed. Think about what that means. Before empires built monuments, before kings carved names into stone, ordinary prehistoric people may have already been creating the first emotional maps of the world. Here is where she died. Here is where we buried him. Here is where we return. Here is where the group remembers who it is. Death may have helped create belonging, because to bury someone is to say, this person belongs with us, even now. And maybe that is why funerary behavior became such a deep part of human life. It helped the living understand the dead, but it also helped the living understand themselves. A group that cares for its dead is a group that believes relationships do not end instantly when the body stops moving. That belief does not need a temple. It does not even need a word for soul. It can begin with a simple refusal to walk away. But death also created fear. Ancient humans likely feared predators, storms, hunger, and darkness. But the dead may have carried a different kind of fear. A corpse looks like a person and not a person at the same time. It reminds the living that the same thing will happen to them. It may have triggered the earliest questions about dreams, spirits, shadows, and the invisible. When someone died, did the group dream about them later? Almost certainly. Dreams are older than civilization. A dead person could appear in sleep, alive again, speaking or moving or watching. To a prehistoric mind, this would have been powerful. The body was buried, but the person appeared at night. That experience alone could have shaped early beliefs about the dead continuing somewhere unseen. So, what did ancient humans do when someone died? They probably did many things, depending on time, place, climate, danger, and culture. Sometimes they may have left the body because survival forced them to move. Sometimes they may have placed it in a shallow grave. Sometimes they may have covered it with stones. Sometimes they may have used red pigment. Sometimes they may have left tools, ornaments, animal bones, or personal objects nearby. Sometimes they may have carried grief without any physical trace at all. That is the hardest part about prehistory. The deepest emotions often disappear from the ground. A mother's cry leaves no fossil. A hand placed on a dead brother's chest leaves no artifact. A child asking why someone will not wake up leaves no mark for archaeologists to find. But the burials that do survive tell us something extraordinary. Even in a brutal world, ancient humans made space for tenderness. They lived with cold, hunger, injury, and fear. They watched people die without medicine, without explanation, without certainty. And still, they sometimes stopped long enough to care. That may be one of the oldest forms of humanity. Not fire, not tools, not hunting, but grief. Because grief means memory has become stronger than instinct. An animal can run from death. A human can sit beside it. A human can remember. A human can return. And in that moment, the dead do something impossible. They continue shaping the living. Maybe this is why every culture after that, from small tribes to ancient cities to modern nations, built some way to face death. Graves, songs, stones, candles, names, stories, prayers. Different forms, same ancient wound. The first funeral may not have looked like a funeral at all. No priest, no coffin, no carved marker. Just a small group under a darkening sky. A body wrapped in hide. A shallow hole in the earth. And frightened people trying to understand why love does not disappear when breathing stops. And maybe that is the answer. When ancient humans lost someone, they did not always know what death meant, but they knew what the person meant. So they gathered, they remembered, they buried. And long before history began, the living learned something we still haven't forgotten. A human life does not end only in the body. It continues in the people who refuse to forget.